this evening. And I think many of us here already know you from many different settings and circumstances. Just to give a few facts, Nina is known for, I think, her trilogy of books, Heart Song, Heart's Journey, and Heart Strong, which are magnificent collections of poetry. And I understand that you are working on a new collection of poems, Out of the Blue. And Nina also produces and hosts community radio programs on KPFA and OzCat on poetry and literature, and sometimes on Latinx culture. So there are many, many situations in which you may have come to know Nina. And I do know that you just celebrated a birthday on September 1st. Congratulations. And as I said in my note to you, may you have a much love, peace, and courage for your next orbit around the sun. We are all so glad to be able to celebrate that with you. So Nina, just a few things for context. I think I'm always impressed with how you take or focus on very ordinary elements in life. You know, something you've come across, a friend's visit, something in nature, and you start your poem about it, and then before we know it, it has reached out and reached down and reached up and touches all aspects of life and connects us to a wider vision. I'm rather dazzled by your approach, and I wonder, from your perspective, how do poems come to you? Oh, and you're going to need to unmute, Nina. Hit the little red microphone.
I hit the little red microphone.
You are good. Hear me? We can.
Oh, good. Okay. How do poems come to me?
Yes.
All different ways. I mean, they come as thoughts, and then the thought, oh, I should write that as a poem. And then I start writing it as a poem, either in my mind or, if I'm lucky, on paper or on the computer. Because if I start it on my mind, then I have to make a project of getting it onto the computer or getting it onto the paper and then onto the computer. So as I live my life, these thoughts come, and I wrote this poem last night, and it's called Favorite Things List Poem. Picking out the prettiest colored egg in a carton, seeing a double rainbow, a line of whales, playful dolphins, a flotilla of swans, shooting stars, a passing comet, many moons in all shapes and colors, the desert in bloom, swimming in the Caribbean, hearing the all-clear siren after air raid drills, bells announcing the end of World War II, a mockingbird imitate a cell phone, dancing every time and time again. So I'm going to be reading all new poems in honor of my 87th birthday. And this one, all poems written this year, since last September. This is called New Moon. Every new moon, the poet laureate of Berkeley, Rafael Jesus Gonzalez, sends me a poem. And this is called New Moon. Rafael emailed me that there was a full moon. Full of excitement, I rushed to the backyard. The moon hung over the neighbor's tree, shining in the dark. A white plate in the heavens, waiting for the goddess to eat her dinner and wipe it clean with clouds. In my bed, my pillowed head remembers the sight and a few scattered stars that will light my dreams.
Thank you.
This next poem is called Valentine Paul for Paul, my husband of 44 years. At first, it was your golden curls. How smart you were under the soft locks. Over the decades, the gold turned silvery and thinned, but your smarts sharpened and deepened, beaming a golden light on my world view, so I can see my way out of darkness and find warmth in the shivery cold. This next poem is called Benicia Poetry Scene, and it's dedicated to Mary Susan Gast. I was seated at a Benicia outdoor cafe table with my friend. My crab salad had just been served. The warm, melted cheese on the crab glistened in the sunlight. But as you walked by, you caught my eye. I stopped before plunging in with my fork to read the uplifting message on your t-shirt. I no longer remember it, but clearly remember boldly shouting out to you, "Nice t-shirt."
Yes.
You smiled and nodded as if you knew I meant much more. The common bonds between us, as there later proved to be, both poetry and social justice. I'm so glad of it that you are now Benicia Poet Laureate #8, knowing that even if the cafe has since closed in the pandemic, that poetry and social justice in Benicia go forward.
Thank you so much.
Just 6 months ago, it was March and it was spring, and I wrote this: Green, oh how I love you green, to March 2021 and Spanish poet Federico Garcia Lorca. Green hills, green fields, blue, green, yellow, green, light green and dark, every tint, shade and hue. Northern California greens after the rains. Green sprouts along the sides of the road. Buds and leaves glisten. Fresh, tender, new green. I want to eat you. Bite off a whole field. Newly sprouted. Blooming without blemish. I could swallow you whole, leaving only tree trunks in my hunger. Aroused by this new birth of green, of winter flowering into spring, this rush of aroused appetite, this rush of bursting euphoria, awakening my joy, my joy, my joy. Thank you. This poem is called Sisters of Afghanistan.
Mhm.
We hold our breath for our sisters in Afghanistan. Hold them in our hearts. At this confusing moment, when those who hold their subjugation as religious law hold the guns, may their woman courage carry them through. More on this theme, the Afghanistan war. It seems it is not as easy to end a war as to start one. Along the way, you have to mourn the dead, wounded, smashed homes and ecological destruction, endure the sorrows, pain, and losses after all the devastation. The end does not close definitively like a book or the closing credits of a movie. The suffering and terror continues. Let's have no more wars. Let's have no more wars. June, the United Nations declared was Oceans Month, and poets and musicians and artists all wrote things and dedicated things to the ocean, as I did. A love song to ocean. Walking along the seashore, feet in the water, Cold pounding surf splashing, your immense body covers most of the globe. Life giver, ruled by Earth's moon, polluted home to fish eat fish, mammals and aquatic plants, floating a plastic island as big as a nation. I have counted your waves coming ashore 7 deep. Will you rise with the ice caps melting, your temperature rising? Will you swallow our coastal cities? You are a threat and a comfort. By your side, my troubles disperse, despite the evidence of tossed tree trunks and giant rocks revealed in low tide. Your mystery and enchantment remain unchanged since my first salty swim in you, taste, touch, and smell. You are mighty, as real and essential as creation itself. All ponds, rivers, and lakes flow to you. Deities dwell in you. Your waves lifted me and put my feet back down. On a 4-deck ship, you jostled us around. Ghosts of other vessels lay beneath your bottom. Inspirer of legends and myth, mermaids sing your praises in hymns echoing on the sand. In your deafening presence, I am filled with prayer and consciousness. This is about the pandemic. 2 shots. The COVID-19 vaccines liberated my spirit, that quick shot in the arm that boosted my hope, that tiny stab that slit my restraints. Let me wander freely again, finding my way, not back to normal, but forward to a new reality, embracing Zooms and outdoor sociability, embracing more strongly the consciousness of one world, where the breath of one affects the breaths of all others. Although my friend Judy died many years ago, it was only this year that I was able to write about it. Rooftop department store restaurant. Let me turn on this extra light. We are carrying packages and we are adjusting them on empty chairs at our table. The waiter arrives with huge laminated menus. I already know that my dear friend Judy will choose the least fattening selection, ordering a salad. I will feel guilty because I want cherry pie, though knowing I'll order the same as her. We've done this for so many years, so many decades, but I shouldn't take it for granted because it can stop, because it did stop. This is the moment when I saw the waiter out of the corner of my eye throw something off the rooftop. It was my sense of immortality, the belief that our relationship and adventures would go on forever. So many trips, so many luncheons, including in our kitchens before we could afford eating out. We know the players' names in each other's lives. I don't want to accept that our journey together can end. I want the waiter to throw down a net to catch eternity before it splatters on the sidewalk and dies. This next poem is called Faithful Moon. You think the moon would be too busy with regulating tides and menstruation to bother with me. But no, she lingers in my view, casting a glow to bless my night, even wishing me sweet dreams and a sound sleep. She likes that I check on her and admire her latest shape, so nicely round and satisfying. We are old friends of many years. I've seen her in distant places, yet she always recognizes me wherever I go, wherever I go. 3 bad mood poems. The second poem, which refers to iconic poems we all know, also includes a poem by Tom Stanton, the Benicia Poet Laureate #7, and I heard him read the poem to that along with Johanna, Poet Laureate #6. 3 bad mood poems. The night tries to make peace with day, so sleep can find its way to sweet dreams and rest, so I can meet the morning's unwelcome challenges and the disappointment of being awake again. 2, night creeps in on little cat feet, silent as fog. Even if you have miles to go before you sleep, morning clamors in like early garbage trucks and bright, intrusive sunlight pouring in through the edges of closed curtains. 3, in the morning, the argument of crows drown out the songbirds. Thank you. Billionaires have been planning their trips to outer space, but I had this dream, intergalactic dream. I dreamt I made 2 voyages to outer space. The first trip with my adult daughter, who was going to collect data. It was not very scenic on this other planet, not beautiful like Earth. There were other Earthlings there rushing around. We all carried plastic bags for picking up our litter. The second trip was with my adult son. I held on to him for the trip. He reassured me that he would take care of me there. Once again, Earthlings carried plastic garbage bags, busily cleaning up after ourselves and our excrement. I woke up. I noted I had created 2 more human beings on the planet, followed by their 13 descendants. Then I realized I had only provided the conditions for their birth. A far greater force than me created all of them. This is called Leilani, and it's for all the children of the world who were born during this pandemic. Yesterday, the smoky air cleared. I visited my new 7th great-grandchild for the first time, wearing a mask, gathering safely in the lush garden of ripe peaches, figs, squashes, pumpkins, and tomatoes, as marnix and hummingbirds flitted among the flowers. Seated, I held her mellow and beautiful being in my arms, and I said her name, Leilani, out loud. Sweet Leilani, heavenly flower, I sang to her, but could not catch her infant smell through the mask. Peering into her face, searching for resemblances, I saw different elusive family members race by in her random expressions. She fit so snugly against my body, as if she'd always been there. Only 18 days old, she always had. When her mother spoke, she turned towards her. Soon was nursing contentedly in her tender embrace, falling peacefully asleep. I left with a bag of ripe peaches, my heart full, the word resilient on my mind. Resilient. The high cost of living. My great-grandson and I found a gumball machine, the old glass, fat, round ones, probably filled with stale candy like I remembered they always used to be. This machine took only quarters. I didn't have any change. He took the news very well. In my childhood, those machines were a penny, like lots of other treats at the corner store. And I still remember, if no one had a penny, whining and crying. Bells. As a child, I used to tell time by the bells ringing from the church 3 blocks away. Hurry, get to school, they rang in the early morning. But in the tumult of everyone in the apartment getting ready for work at school, I usually didn't hear them. I really only listened for them when I stayed home from school by falsely insisting that I didn't feel well. My parents were at work. The house was quiet and lonely. At 3 o'clock when school let out, I heard the vibrating song, and again with a variation at 3:15. Now I was totally free to stop pretending to be sick. I could prepare for wellness, and my parents returned with the hopes of hugs and dinner to listen for the chiming, chiming, chiming of the evening bells. Dark beauty of night sky. This is my closing poem. Night comes as dark beauty, the slice of moon suggesting that I sleep. I agree, knowing that daylight will awaken me with all its challenges to overcome time, knowing I can drift into sleep and dreams by following familiar habits, closed eyes and slow breathing, curling into comfort, sinking into the pillow and letting go, letting the moon absorb my cares and send them off into endless space, sending the me of me into the dark night. Thank you.
Well, why don't we all unmute so that we can give a round of audible applause?
Yay.
Thank you, Nina.
Beautiful job.
Beautiful,
Beautiful
Nina.
job.
Good. Very
Nice
good,
stuff,
Nina.
Nina. Beautiful.
Thank
Thank
As
you.
always.
Good
As
job.
always, just,
Read
Well,
the
as a-
chat.
yeah. yeah, read the chats. And, people are just exploding with reactions. And it seems like every poem you write, Nina, has at least one line in it that just
Yeah.
jolts
Yeah.
jolts me and grabs my attention. And it's such a marvelous gift you have. Thank you. And the t-shirt I was wearing that day said, "Nevertheless, she persisted."
Right.
And I knew that anyone who was calling me out over that t-shirt was someone I wanted to know. So it was a great meeting. Okay, well, thank you so much. And we will proceed now to hear from others who are here, who are ready to